The wrong tango went viral. Now the millionaire must marry the waitress he mocked last night. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let us return to our main character. The music was supposed to be elegant, controlled, the kind of polished ballroom soundtrack that floated effortlessly over Manhattan's richest rooftop. Instead, the entire room froze as the wrong tango beat blasted from the speakers, sharp, fast, chaotic. In the center of the marble floor, Miles Donovan, the 35-year-old tech millionaire who never lost control of anything, stumbled forward as the waitress he had mocked only minutes earlier took the lead. Elena Cruz's hand tightened around his, her dark eyes unblinking as she pulled him back into rhythm. Gasps erupted, phones lifted. Somewhere in the crowd, someone whispered, "The billionaire's getting dragged." And within seconds, the live stream counter ticked past 15,000 viewers. No one in that glittering room knew it yet, but by sunrise, the wrong tango would explode across the internet, and the millionaire who had laughed at a waitress would wake up facing a PR disaster that required him to marry her in public. Elena hadn't meant to spill the champagne. She'd been juggling trays for 4 hours under freezing rooftop wind, weaving between donors in diamond gowns and investors in tailored black. When the gust hit her hand and the glasses toppled onto Miles's polished Italian shoes, she barely caught her breath before he turned eyes cold and sharp. "Careful," he said, dry and loud enough for the VIPs beside him to hear. "If you dance as badly as you carry trays, remind me never to marry you." Laughter rippled across the room. Her cheeks burned first with humiliation, then with fury. She straightened, meeting his stare. "If you ever danced at all, sir, maybe you'd know it's not the shoes that embarrass you." Someone choked on their cocktail. Miles raised a brow. "Bold talk, waitress." "Truth," she replied. He took a single step toward her. "Then prove it. Dance with me. Right now." Whispers spread like wildfire. A billionaire challenging a waitress. It was the perfect storm for social media. Before she even answered, 3 phones were already recording. Elena inhaled, lifted her chin, and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Try to keep up." Miles barely had time to register the insult before she swung him into the opening steps. The tango track shifted, wrong music, wrong tempo, too fast for any beginner. Elena seemed unfazed. Miles, however, looked like every bone in his body was second-guessing its purpose. Each time he tried to lead, she countered. Each time he tried to regain control, she pulled him back into beat. People cheered, laughed, filmed. The billionaire being led by a waitress, it was the kind of reversal the internet lived for. When the song ended, Miles stepped back, breath uneven. Elena turned away without a word, but the guests didn't. Applause thundered. Some shouted her name. Someone yelled, "Best billionaire romance plot ever." And the video of Miles floundering behind a woman he had just insulted began spreading to TikTok before the last note faded. Elena left the rooftop as fast as she could. She clocked out, wrapped her jacket tighter around her thin dress, and muttered a prayer that no one would recognize her. It was past midnight by the time she reached the subway. Her phone buzzed nonstop, friends, coworkers, strangers tagging her. But she didn't open a single message. After years of juggling bills, working double shifts, and trying to stay invisible in the city that never stopped judging, she wasn't prepared for millions of eyes landing on her at once. She reached her apartment at 2 a.m., exhausted. One voicemail waited from her manager, Elena. "Call me first thing. We need to talk about tonight." She already knew what that meant. At 7 a.m., while she was still half asleep, another call came. Not from her manager this time, from a number labeled Donovan Enterprises Legal Affairs. She froze, let it ring, then rolled over and tried to pretend the world wasn't spinning under her feet. Miles Donovan also woke to a world spinning, but his world spun with headlines. Billionaire humiliated in viral tango, the waitress outdanced a millionaire. Love, was this a real enemies to lovers story? His inbox overflowed. Investors demanded explanations. Board members called emergency meetings. The PR director left 4 voicemails, each more panicked than the last. Miles hadn't even made it to the kitchen before his phone rang with a 5th. Miles, this is catastrophic, she said. The board is furious. And there's another problem. What now? There's a clause in the event contract you violated last night. What clause? The marriage promise gesture. If a public figure humiliates a staff member during a sponsored event, he must restore public goodwill through a staged wedding rehearsal. You have to perform a mock marriage scene with the waitress to reverse the scandal. Miles blinked. A mock what? It's symbolic, not legal, PR only, but mandatory. Absolutely not. It's that or the investors pull out. He didn't answer. Her name, the director added, is Elena Cruz. Across the city, Elena checked her email and saw the subject line, mandatory participation request, public rehearsal wedding, compensation $15,000. Her breath caught. $15,000, more than 4 months of rent, more than she'd ever seen in one place. But below the offer was a final sentence. Failure to participate may result in legal action. She sank onto her bed, fingers trembling. Her world, small, struggling, barely holding together, had just been dragged into the orbit of a billionaire's disaster. And somewhere in a glass office high above Manhattan, Miles cursed under his breath, staring at the same name he had mocked mere hours earlier. The wrong tango had gone viral, and the real trouble was only beginning. Elena Cruz stood in her doorway, barefoot, hair unbrushed, still wearing the oversized t-shirt she slept in when the man in a dark suit lifted a leather folder toward her and said, "Miss Cruz, I'm here on behalf of Donovan Enterprises. I need your signature." She blinked. "It's 7 a.m. I was told to deliver this before 9, he replied. Mr. Donovan's legal team said it was urgent. He handed her the folder. Inside was a thick contract, way thicker than anything she had ever seen. A highlight box on the first page glowed in yellow. Compensation, $15,000. Role, participant in public rehearsal wedding. Non-compliance, possible legal action. Her stomach tightened. This is real, very real, the man said, in time sensitive. She stepped back into her apartment, the morning light turning the papers a pale gold. She scanned the clauses. The rehearsal wedding would take place in 3 days, televised for PR repair, with photographers, a choreographed tango, a symbolic ring exchange, and a scripted statement of goodwill. She could not alter the script. She could not mock the event. She could not back out once she signed. And she couldn't believe this was happening because of one stupid tango. "I need time," she whispered. "You have 4 hours." When the door closed, she collapsed onto her couch, staring at her chipped coffee table as though it could explain how her life had spun so violently overnight. She thought about calling her manager, except he'd already fired her. She thought about calling her aunt back in Texas, except her aunt worked nights and wouldn't wake up until afternoon. She thought about leaving the city entirely. Her phone vibrated. Her best friend Sophia wrote, "I saw the video. Are you okay? Are you famous now?" Elena didn't reply. She wasn't famous. She was cornered. Across Manhattan, in a 33rd floor conference room, wrapped in glass, Miles Donovan glared at the contract identical to the one Elena had received. "Ridiculous," he muttered. His legal advisor, a woman with sharp cheekbones and sharper patience, slid a cup of coffee toward him. "It's not optional. PR metrics are tanking. Investors are threatening to pull out. The board thinks the staged billionaire romance angle might actually soften your image." "I don't need softening," Miles snapped. "You humiliated a waitress on camera," she replied calmly. "And she outdanced you, and the internet crowned her queen." He rubbed his forehead. "What do you want me to do, smile and pretend I'm marrying a stranger?" "Exactly that," she said. "Smile convincingly." Miles let out a breath and leaned back. He could build a revolutionary AI engine but couldn't escape a tango gone viral. "Fine," he said. "Set the meeting. Let's get this disaster over with." When Elena arrived at the Donovan Enterprises lobby later that afternoon, she expected a secretary to greet her. Instead, 6 reporters shot up from their seats. "That's her, Elena. Is this an enemies to lovers story? Are you and Mr. Donovan really getting married? Did he apologize?" Security rushed forward, shielding her as she pushed through the flashing cameras, her face flushed with humiliation. When the elevator doors finally closed, she exhaled shakily. The doors reopened to a sleek executive floor. Miles was already standing there, hands in pockets, expression unreadable. "You're late," he said. "I was being chased by cameras," she replied. "Sorry, I don't have a personal driver." He ignored the jab and gestured to the meeting room. "Let's get this done." Inside, the long mahogany table was covered in contracts, pens, and bottled water, lined like soldiers. But before either of them could sit, a man leaned casually against the wall, arms crossed. Tall blonde, dressed in a gray tailored suit. "I came to offer a warning," he said to Elena. Miles frowned. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward, gaze fixed only on Elena. "Someone who's seen what Donovan does to women who cross him." Elena's heartbeat stumbled. Miles snapped, "Get out." But the stranger continued calmly. "Don't trust him. He will destroy your life if it benefits him." Security burst in and dragged the man away, but not before he spoke one last line over his shoulder: "Run while you can." Silence filled the room. Elena's hands trembled as she sank into a chair. Miles exhaled hard. "He's lying." "I didn't ask," she whispered. He stared at her. For the first time, the arrogant billionaire mask seemed to slip. "Elena," he said, voice lower, steadier, "I didn't choose this. I don't want this wedding any more than you do, but we're in the same storm and the only way out is through." She swallowed, forcing her voice to stay even. "I'll sign, but I have one condition." He raised a brow. "Which is, you apologize. Publicly, not in a script, in your own words." His jaw tightened. Public apologies were his least favorite currency, but he understood negotiation, and Elena's determination was unmistakable. "Fine," he said. "You'll get your apology." She nodded slowly. "Then I'll do the rehearsal wedding." She signed her name. The point of the pen carved a tiny furrow into the paper. Miles signed next, each letter crisp and controlled. The legal advisor took the documents. "Rehearsal begins tomorrow at noon. Wardrobe will arrive tonight. You'll both receive the choreography shortly." As she walked out of the room, Elena felt Miles watching her, not with contempt, not even with irritation, but with something closer to curiosity. When the elevator doors closed, she released a shaky breath. Downstairs, stepping onto the sidewalk, she felt the city hum against her skin. The noise, the wind, the distant sirens, everything familiar and terrifying all at once. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. If you think a contract protects you from a billionaire, you don't know who you're dealing with. Elena stared at the message. She didn't know who sent it. She didn't know the danger she was slipping into. But she knew one thing for certain. Tomorrow she would have to stand beside Miles Donovan again, this time as his almost bride. Miles arrived at the Brooklyn dance studio precisely at noon, exactly as the schedule demanded. He wasn't used to waiting for anyone, let alone a woman he'd been forced into a faux engagement with. He checked his watch. He paced. He stared at the mirrors, reflecting his own impatience. For the first time in years, he felt strangely nervous. At 12:20, the door finally opened. Elena walked in, hair tied back, wearing black dance leggings and a loose t-shirt, but she wasn't alone. A young man followed her, tall, athletic, with warm brown eyes and a smile that seemed far too pleased to be there. "Sorry we're late," Elena said casually. "Subway delay?" "Woo," Miles replied. The young man stepped forward, confidently extending a hand. "I'm Mateo. I used to train with Elena back in Texas." Miles looked at the offered hand but didn't shake it. "This is a private rehearsal." Mateo grinned. "Relax, I'm just dropping her off." But the way he looked at her familiar fawn annoyed Miles more than he cared to admit. Elena stepped between them. "Mateo was in town. He offered to help me warm up. That's all." Mateo winked at her before heading for the door. Break a leg cruise. Miles watched him leave with irritation simmering under his calm exterior. Warm up. "For a rehearsal you're already 20 minutes late for," she shot him a look. "I didn't realize punctuality was one of your love languages." He inhaled sharply. "Let's start." She crossed the wooden floor, stopping in front of him. "Fine. But let's get one thing clear while we're dancing. You don't lead me until you know how. I'm not getting dragged across the floor for another viral clip." He stiffened. "I don't get dragged." "You did," she said simply. She placed her hand on his chest and nudged him back into position. "Feet here, shoulders down." Pretend you're not a statue." He muttered something under his breath but adjusted. Their bodies aligned, their breaths mingling for the briefest second before she stepped into frame and guided his left hand to her waist. The music began, low, smoky, deliberate. "Tango," she said, "is a conversation, not a battle." "Feels like a battle," he replied. "That's because you're always trying to win." She pulled him with a sharp pivot and his balance faltered. He grabbed her waist instinctively, and for a moment they froze too close, too aware. Elena's eyes flickered to his hand before she stepped back. "Again," she said quickly. They tried the basic ocho, then the walk, then the cross. But Miles's movements were stiff, overly calculated, as if he were negotiating a contract instead of connecting with a partner. "You're thinking too hard," she said. "That's how I operate." "Well, stop operating and start feeling." He glared. "That's not a skill I've prioritized." She stopped the music. Clearly. A tense silence hung between them. Then she sighed, her voice softer. "Look, tango isn't about dominance. It's about trust." He didn't speak, but the flicker in his eyes was unmistakable. Trust wasn't something he knew how to give. They began again. This time, Elena let him make the first move. He stepped forward hesitantly, then shifted their weight the way she'd shown him. When he faltered, she steadied him without a word. Slowly, painfully slowly, the stiffness in his shoulders eased. "Better," she murmured. He almost smiled. Then the studio door clicked. Veronica Hale stepped inside. Tall, elegant, ice blonde. The woman who had left Miles at the altar 3 years ago. Elena froze mid-step. Miles dropped Elena's hand. Veronica's lips curved into a polished smile. "Miles, I heard you were learning tango, and with her." Elena's pulse spiked. Something about Veronica, the poised cruelty in her tone, pressed on an old instinct. This woman is dangerous. Miles's jaw tightened. "What do you want, Veronica?" She walked around them slowly, eyes trailing over their intertwined stance. "Just curious. It's not every day I hear about a billionaire love story starring a waitress." Elena stiffened. Veronica stopped in front of her. "You must be Elena Cruz." She looked her up and down, her smile cold. "I saw the viral tango dance." "Impressive, if one enjoys humiliating their partner." Miles snapped, "Enough." Veronica ignored him. "Just a warning," she said softly to Elena. "Miles isn't capable of what you think he is. You don't know the real him, not yet." Elena stepped back, refusing to be intimidated. "I know enough." "Do you?" Veronica whispered. "Do you know why he was left standing alone at our altar? Do you know what he said to the woman he swore to love before the ceremony started?" Miles's face drained of color. "Veronica, stop." But Veronica leaned in as if sharing a secret meant to wound. "Ask him. Or better yet, ask yourself why he's suddenly so eager to stay close to you. PR is a convenient mask." Elena didn't respond. Couldn't. Veronica gave Miles one last razor-edged smile before leaving the studio and closing the door behind her with a soft click. Silence swallowed the room. Miles turned away, rubbing the back of his neck. "She's manipulating you." Elena's voice came out quieter than she intended. "Is she?" He looked at her sharply. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did I," she replied. "But if there's something I should know, say it now." He hesitated. Too long. Her heart sank. "I thought so." She grabbed her bag and headed toward the door. Elena, wait. But she didn't. She walked out, pulse pounding. Her phone buzzed before she reached the subway. A new message from an unknown number. "Do you really think he told you the truth about his wedding day? If you want answers, meet me tomorrow. Alone." Elena's breath caught. She looked back at the studio windows where Miles still stood behind the glass, a shadow blurred by sunlight. The secrets were beginning to surface. And tomorrow, the real story behind Miles Donovan's past would start to unravel. Elena arrived at the East River Pier, early, the morning fog curling over the water like a warning she should have listened to. She checked her phone again. The message from the unknown number was still there, cold and unsettling. She didn't know why she'd agreed to meet. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, maybe the lingering echo of Veronica's words poisoning her thoughts. A gull screeched overhead as footsteps approached behind her. "Relax," Mateo's voice said gently. "You look like someone expecting a kidnapping." She spun around. Mateo. What are you doing here? You texted me last night, remember? Said you needed backup. Elena blinked. She had texted him in a moment of panic before deciding she would go alone. She must have forgotten to cancel. Sorry, she murmured. I shouldn't drag you into this. You didn't, he replied. I invited myself. Now, who exactly are we meeting? Before she could answer, another figure approached through the fog. A middle-aged woman in a navy coat, her hair neatly pinned, her eyes sharp. Ms. Cruz, she asked. Elena nodded reluctantly. You're the one who texted. The woman glanced at Mateo, annoyed but resigned. Fine, both of you need to hear this. My name is Deborah Hale, Veronica's mother. Elena stiffened. Mateo muttered under his breath. Deborah continued before either could speak. You're in danger, and so is Miles. Elena crossed her arms. Why should I believe anything you say? Because I don't want you to make the same mistake my daughter did. Mateo stepped protectively closer. Which is trusting the wrong people. Elena frowned. Who? Deborah's voice lowered. Veronica. And someone else. Someone far worse. A cold breeze swept across the pier, tugging at Elena's jacket. Deborah looked around as if afraid someone might overhear. Miles didn't ruin Veronica, she said quietly. She ruined herself. And she's planning to do the same to you. Elena pulled back. Veronica warned me about Miles. Exactly, Deborah said. She always warns others before she destroys them. Confuses the narrative. Elena shook her head. What does she want from Miles now? The same thing she's always wanted. Control. Deborah looked Elena dead in the eye. In you being close to him, you're a threat to that. Mateo scoffed. This sounds like a telenovela. Deborah ignored him. 3 years ago, Veronica didn't leave Miles because she fell in love with someone else. That was the story she created to protect herself. The truth is, she swallowed. She left because she was being blackmailed. Elena paused. Mateo's expression sharpened. By whom? Elena demanded. Deborah hesitated just long enough to send a chill down Elena's spine. By the person who leaked your tango video. The same person who sent reporters after you. The same person who stands to gain the most if Miles's public image collapses. Elena's breath hitched. But who? A loud crack interrupted her. The sound of something metal being struck. A second later, the pier vibrated. Mateo's head jerked around. What was that? Before anyone could react, a small drone zipped out of the fog, black fast, humming like an angry wasp. Then it dropped something. A spark ignited on the wooden planks. Move! Mateo shoved Elena aside as a small explosion ripped through the pier. Deborah screamed. Elena hit the ground hard, splinters cutting her palms. Smoke billowed around them, choking the air. Run! Mateo pulled her up. The drone followed, darting erratically like a predator. Elena's heart pounded as the three of them sprinted toward the street. Another spark flashed, another small blast erupting behind them. Sirens wailed somewhere in the city. They reached the sidewalk just as the drone shot upward and disappeared into the skyline like it had never existed. Deborah clutched her chest, catching her breath. They found out. They know I talked. Elena steadied her. Who? Deborah pressed a trembling hand to her lips. I can't say more. Not here. But listen to me. Miles is being targeted. They want him ruined, and they'll use you to do it. Elena shivered. Why me? Because they know he's starting to care about you. Mateo exchanged a glance with Elena, conflicted, confused, protective. Deborah tightened her grip on Elena's wrist. Find Miles. Tell him what happened, and whatever you do, don't trust anyone connected to the Donovan Foundation. Elena froze. Why the foundation? Deborah's eyes glistened. Because the person behind all this is inside it. Before Elena could press for more, Deborah stepped back into the street hailing a taxi. I'll contact you again if I survive long enough, she said grimly. The taxi sped away, leaving Elena shaken. For a long moment she stood there in the haze of smoke, rising above the damaged pier, trying to breathe through the fear suffocating her. Mateo placed a hand on her shoulder. Elena, this isn't just about a viral tango anymore. She swallowed. I know. She took out her phone, her fingers trembling, and typed a message to Miles. We need to talk. Now. Something happened, and you're not safe. She hit send. The moment she did, she felt eyes on her somewhere from the street across a dark SUV parked with tinted windows, watching, waiting. Mateo followed her gaze. Elena, please tell me that car is an Uber. The SUV engine rumbled, then the headlights flicked on. No, she whispered. It's not. She grabbed Mateo's hand. Run. The SUV rolled forward, and Elena realized the viral tango was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. Elena and Mateo sprinted down the narrow Brooklyn street, the SUV's engine roaring behind them like a beast unleashed. Horns blared as they dodged between cars weaving through startled pedestrians. The SUV didn't slow. If anything, it accelerated. This is insane, Mateo yelled. Keep moving, Elena gasped, her lungs burning. They darted into an alley, jumping over garbage bags and skidding past metal dumpsters. The SUV couldn't follow here too narrow, but they could hear it circling around to cut them off. At the end of the alley, they burst onto another street. Mateo pointed. Subway entrance, go. They hurtled down the steps into the station, just as the SUV screeched somewhere above them. Elena jumped the turnstile, dragged Mateo through, and they made it onto the platform seconds before a train screeched into the station. Come on, Mateo shouted. The doors began to shut. Elena shoved herself and Mateo inside just as the SUV's driver appeared at the top of the staircase, a tall silhouette face obscured beneath a cap. The train doors sealed and the car lurched forward. Elena and Mateo collapsed into seats, breathless and shaking. Mateo rubbed his forehead. Okay, you are officially never going anywhere alone again. Elena's phone buzzed. Miles, where are you? Are you hurt? I'm coming to get you. She exhaled shakily. Mateo leaned in, reading over her shoulder. You're really going to trust him after all that? Elena hesitated. Her pulse raced. I don't know, but she typed quickly anyway. I'll meet you. Somewhere public. Somewhere safe. 5 minutes later, Miles replied with a location: Grand Central Terminal. Main concourse. 20 minutes. Mateo groaned. Somewhere safe. You picked one of the busiest places in the city. Exactly, Elena said. Whoever's following us won't strike in a crowd. She hoped. When they reached Grand Central, the crowd swallowed them, tourists taking photos, commuters, rushing, the constant hum of conversation echoing under the vaulted ceiling. Elena scanned the crowd anxiously. Then she saw him. Miles pushed through a group of business travelers, eyes locked on her with unmistakable worry. Elena, he called. She stiffened as he rushed toward her. His tie was undone, his suit coat wrinkled, his hair a mess like he'd run here. Are you all right? What happened? Why weren't you answering my calls? She lifted a hand, stopping him. Miles, someone tried to hurt us. Miles froze mid-step. His expression shifted from relief to alarm. What do you mean, hurt? Mateo crossed his arms, standing between them. She means someone dropped a bomb on the pier. Miles's face drained of color. What? For once, Mateo added, the dramatic headline isn't an exaggeration. Elena swallowed. It was a drone. Someone targeted us. Miles's voice hardened. Who? Elena met his eyes. Your ex-fiancée's mother. Miles blinked. Deborah, she's not capable of... She didn't attack us. Elena interrupted. She warned me. She said someone inside the Donovan Foundation is trying to destroy you. Miles went still. Elena noticed the change instantly, the flicker of panic he tried to hide. Who inside the foundation? He asked quietly. She didn't say, Elena replied, but she said Veronica's involved, and someone else with far more power. That narrows it down to 6 people, Miles muttered. Mateo stepped closer, protective. She also said they're using Elena to get to you, that whoever leaked the tango video is the same person orchestrating all this. Miles looked stricken. Elena, I swear I never leaked anything. I know, she said softly. He exhaled. Then he surprised her. He stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough to lower his voice. Elena, I need to tell you the truth about my wedding. Mateo's posture stiffened, but Elena raised a hand signaling him to stay back. Miles's throat tightened. What Veronica said in the studio about me being cruel before the ceremony, that wasn't the whole story. She overheard something, but she twisted it. What did you say, Miles? I said. He closed his eyes for a second, ashamed. I said I didn't know if I was marrying the woman I loved or the one my family expected me to love. I said I felt trapped, suffocated. Elena stared at him. And she heard only part of that. Miles continued. She thought I didn't love her. But the truth is, I was terrified. She pushed me into a wedding I wasn't ready for. When she left, it destroyed me, but not for the reasons everyone thinks. Elena's voice was faint. Then why didn't you tell me this sooner? Because I didn't want you to think I'm someone who breaks when things get hard, he said. Or someone who runs. He held her gaze. But I'm not running now. Not from this. Not from you. Elena felt Mateo's eyes on her. Half protective, half warning. But inside her chest something softened. Before she could respond, someone shouted in the distance. A man in a dark coat rushed toward them through the crowd. Down, Miles grabbed Elena, pulling her behind a pillar. Just as the man raised something metallic, Mateo lunged, tackling the attacker before he could fully lift the object, a taser disguised as a phone. They crashed onto the marble floor. Commuters screamed, security whistles blew. The attacker scrambled to his feet, elbowed Mateo, and bolted, vanishing into the panicked crowd. Elena knelt beside Mateo. You okay? He coughed. Nothing broken. Miles crouched beside them, shaken. They sent someone after you in broad daylight. Mateo shot him a sharp glare. After her. She's the target genius. Miles clenched his jaw. Not anymore. She's coming with me. Elena stood defensive. Says who? Says the person who's clearly next in line to be attacked. Miles countered. You're safer with me. Mateo grabbed her arm. Elena, don't. This is how trouble starts. Elena looked between them, her loyal friend and the billionaire she wasn't sure she trusted, yet couldn't walk away from. Then her phone buzzed again. A new message. You're running out of time. If you want answers, follow the truth, not the man who's hiding it. Elena felt the blood drain from her face. Miles saw her expression and stepped closer. What did it say? She hid her phone behind her back. Nothing, she said, but inside she knew the lies, the danger, and the secrets were only getting started. Elena followed Miles out of Grand Central, heart still pounding from the attack, but every step toward his car felt heavier than the last. Mateo stayed behind with police for questioning, and now it was just her and Miles disappearing into the mess of Manhattan traffic. Miles drove in silence, jaw tight, his grip locked around the steering wheel. Elena kept glancing at him, debating whether to tell him about the message on her phone, the warning that he was hiding something. But she couldn't, not until she knew more. When they finally arrived at the Donovan Foundation headquarters, the building towered above them, sleek glass, sharp edges, intimidating in its cold elegance. This place looks like a Bond villain's summer home, Elena muttered. Miles didn't laugh. It's supposed to look secure. Turns out it's the opposite. Inside, the lobby was nearly empty. The lights dimmed for the evening. A receptionist greeted them, then froze when she saw Elena. Oh my gosh, you're the dancer from the viral tango video. Elena stiffened. Please don't. But Miles cut in sharply. Not now, Rebecca. The receptionist jumped and nodded quickly. They stepped into the elevator, tension filling the small space. When the doors closed, Miles finally spoke. You didn't answer my question back there. What question? Elena asked. What was in that message? Her pulse thudded. It was nothing, just spam. Elena, his voice softened. You don't lie well. She crossed her arms. And you lie too well. That's the problem. He winced as if the words physically hit him. The elevator dinged. They stepped out onto the executive floor, which was eerily silent. Miles led her to a glass-walled conference room. In place sat 3 people. Miles froze. What are you all doing here? One stood a woman in her 40s with silver-framed glasses and a perfectly pressed blazer. Kendra Lewis Miles whispered to Elena, CEO of the foundation. Kendra didn't smile. We've been waiting for you. Her tone wasn't friendly. It was formal. Too formal. Beside her sat a man in a charcoal suit, Leonard Cruz, financial director. Next to him, a young assistant typing rapidly on a tablet. Miles stepped closer. Why wasn't I informed of this meeting? Kendra folded her hands. Because you're not the one who called it. Elena's stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Called by who? Miles demanded. Kendra glanced behind him. Miles turned. Elena's breath caught. Veronica Hale stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a satisfied smile on her lips. Hello, Miles, she purred. Elena felt heat rising in her chest. Anger, dread, disgust. Veronica walked in like she owned the place. You shouldn't be here, Miles said coldly. I'm a major donor, Veronica replied. I have every right to be here, and I have something your board needs to hear. The assistant tapped her tablet and projected something onto the glass wall. A video. Elena's heart dropped. It was footage of her walking into the pier that morning. Then the explosion, the panic, the chase. Leonard stiffened. Is that Cruz, the waitress from the tango video? Veronica smirked. She's much more than that. Elena stepped back. How did you get this? You, sweetheart, Veronica said sweetly. The real question is why someone would attack you. Unless, of course. She turned to the board. Someone wanted to stage a dramatic narrative to save his own reputation. Miles glared. This is ridiculous. Veronica shrugged. Is it? A billionaire mocked a waitress. The tango video went viral. Public sympathy poured in for her. Miles needed to rebuild his image, so what did he do? He kept her close. Kendra frowned. Are you implying he orchestrated the attack? Veronica smiled. I'm not implying anything. I'm offering a theory. Elena slammed her hand on the table. This is insane. Someone tried to kill us. Veronica didn't flinch. Or someone tried to make it look like that. Miles stepped forward, suddenly fists clenched. Stop it, Veronica. You're not going to twist this. But she leaned in closer to him, voice dropping into a cold whisper. You made your choice the night you replaced me with a girl from nowhere. And now you're going to pay for it. Kendra raised a hand. Enough. Veronica, your accusations are dramatic. Leonard nodded. We need evidence, not theories. Veronica's smile sharpened. Very well. Let me show you evidence. She turned toward her assistant. Play the second clip. A new video appeared. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. It was footage of Miles talking to Thomas Chen, the private investigator he'd hired. They were discussing verifying her background, checking her past, proof of surveillance, proof of tracking, proof he didn't trust her. Elena felt her knees weaken. Is this true? She whispered. Miles turned to her eyes wide with panic. Elena, listen, it wasn't what it looks like. You investigated me. She stepped back, shaking. After everything, Elena, don't say my name. Kendra looked furious. This is a clear breach of ethics, Miles, Leonard added. It will create major liability issues. Veronica folded her arms smugly. And now you understand why I left him. Miles rounded on her. You leaked this. You set me up. Oh, darling, Veronica said sweetly. You set yourself up the moment you fell for her. Elena flinched. That was the moment Miles snapped. This meeting is over, he barked. Get out, all of you. Kendra rose calmly. No, Miles, it's not over. We're calling an emergency board session tonight, without you. Leonard stood as well. Your leadership is in question. The assistant packed up quietly. Veronica stepped toward the exit, but paused beside Elena. Careful, she whispered. He breaks the women he tries to love. Then she was gone. The board followed her out. The door closed, leaving Miles and Elena alone. Miles reached for her. Elena, please, let me explain. She stepped away, voice breaking. Don't touch me. I swear I didn't want to hurt you. I only wanted to protect you. Violated my trust, she whispered. You watched me, studied me. You acted like you cared, but you were just collecting information. Miles shook his head violently. No, that's not true. I care about you more than I've cared about anyone in years. Please, she whispered, just stop lying. He froze. The pain in his face was raw, real. Elena, he said quietly, I have never lied to you. Then why? She whispered, eyes filling with tears. Does it feel like everything between us was a lie? Miles stepped closer. She stepped back. And this time she didn't stop stepping until she reached the elevator. The door slid shut between them. Miles stood alone in the conference room, staring at the empty space she'd left behind. And Elena, heartbroken, furious, terrified, knew one thing as the elevator descended. Someone was pulling strings. Someone wanted to destroy both of them, and she was done letting them win. Elena sat on the edge of her aunt's worn leather couch in Santa Fe, staring at the plane ticket clutched in her hands. Buenos Aires. A city she'd only heard stories about, stories told in her grandmother's soft Spanish stories about stages lit with gold and dancers who lived and breathed tango like it was the pulse of the earth. Elena had never imagined she'd be invited to perform there, not after the disaster her life had become. Her aunt stepped out from the kitchen, wiping flour off her hands. "Mija, that letter. Is it real?" Elena nodded weakly. "The Teatro San Martin invited me to perform in their summer showcase." Her aunt smiled, then paused when she saw Elena wasn't smiling back. "This is what your abuela dreamed for you." "I know," Elena whispered, but her heart felt too heavy to lift, too tangled. Her aunt sat beside her and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Running from New York is one thing, but running from yourself, that follows you everywhere." Elena looked away. "Everything with Miles. It was a lie." "Was it?" her aunt asked softly. "Or did someone make you believe it was?" Before Elena could answer, someone knocked on the door. She froze. Her aunt raised a brow, expecting someone. No. The knock came again, harder this time. Her aunt peered through the peephole, startled. "Ay, Dios mío, it's him!" Elena's heart stuttered. "Miles." Her aunt opened the door before Elena could stop her. Miles stood there, windblown and breathless, like he'd run through all of New Mexico to reach her. His shirt was wrinkled dust on his shoes, hair falling messily across his forehead. He looked nothing like the billionaire who owned Manhattan. He looked human. "Elena," he breathed. "Please, don't shut the door." She stood rigid. "How did you find me, Thomas?" he said. "The same investigator. I fired him. But he still gave me your address because he thought you deserved to hear the truth." She crossed her arms. "The truth according to who, you, Veronica, the Foundation?" "No," Miles said, stepping inside as her aunt quietly slipped to the kitchen. "According to the man who's been behind everything from the start." Elena's breath caught. "Who?" Silas Ward. Her stomach dropped. "The venture capitalist trying to buy your company," House nodded. "He leaked our tango video. He planted the rumor about the bet. He hired the drone that attacked you. He blackmailed Veronica. He's been manipulating every piece of this to force the board to remove me." Elena's throat dried. "Why use me?" "Because you were the perfect tool," Miles said, pain in his voice. "You went viral. You embarrassed me publicly. You were close enough to me that every move I made could be twisted into something suspicious. And the surveillance," she whispered. Miles lowered his head. "I did check on you, but not to control you, to protect you, because after the Times Square disaster, the threats started coming in about you. Not me. Someone wanted you isolated, vulnerable." She swallowed. "You should have told me." "Yeah," he said quietly. "I should have." She turned her face away, blinking hard. "Elena." His voice cracked. "I know I hurt you, and you have every right to hate me, but I'm begging you, don't let Silas win. Don't let him make you think you're alone." Elena didn't answer. She couldn't. "Please," Miles said softly, "say something." Before she could, her auntie called from the kitchen. "Mija, your suitcase is packed. The taxi will be here in 20 minutes. Miles's head snapped up. "Taxi? Where are you going?" Elena held up the plane ticket. "Buenos Aires." Miles stared at it, stunned. "You're leaving the country?" "It's the opportunity of a lifetime," Elena murmured. "Something I've dreamed of since I was a kid. And it has nothing to do with you, or Silas, or this mess." Miles swallowed. "Then let me come with you." She faltered. "What? I can help you. I can protect you. I don't need your protection," she whispered. "I need space." A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Miles nodded, eyes dimming. "Then go. Dance. Be everything your grandmother dreamed you'd be." He stepped back toward the door. "But know this," he added, voice low and raw. "Silas won't stop just because you leave. He's already taken everything from me. I won't let him take you too." Her chest tightened painfully. "Miles." He shook his head gently. "You don't owe me anything, not after what I did. But if you ever need me, even once, I'll come running. Anywhere." He turned and walked out, closing the door behind him. Her aunt came to her side. "Mija, what does your heart say?" Elena let out a shaky breath. "It says I don't know." 20 minutes later at the Santa Fe airport, she watched the sunset spill across the desert like molten gold. When the boarding call echoed overhead, she stepped onto the plane, determined to leave New York and everything with Miles behind. But as she buckled her seatbelt, her phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number, if you perform tonight, the man in the audience will not be the one you think. Choose wisely. She frowned, confused. Then another message came. Miles, I'm proud of you, no matter what happens next. Her chest ached. She closed her eyes as the plane lifted into the sky, carrying her toward Argentina and straight into the storm waiting for her there. Elena stepped out of the sliding doors at JFK with her suitcase rolling behind her, the chill of New York wrapping around her like a warning she couldn't shake off. Buenos Aires had been magic bright lights, roaring applause, the echo of her grandmother's footsteps on a stage that felt carved into her bones. But none of that quieted the uneasy knot that had followed her home. Not after the messages, not after seeing a shadowy figure watching from the wings, not after realizing Silas's reach extended far beyond New York. She tightened her grip on her jacket and hailed a cab. The city rushed past in familiar chaos, sirens honking, the smell of roasted chestnuts and damp pavement. She expected the cab to head toward her apartment, but when she gave the address, the driver shook his head. Roads blocked, he said. Big event. You didn't hear some new foundation opening. Elena frowned. What's it called? He glanced at her through the rearview mirror. Cruz Art Foundation. Her blood froze. Cruz, she whispered. Yeah. Whole thing's named after some famous tango family. Her throat closed. No, he didn't. The cab pulled to the curb near a large plaza. Beyond the crowd, floodlights illuminated a brand new building wrapped in white silk banners that rippled in the breeze. A massive sign gleamed in gold. Cruz Art Foundation for Dance Culture and Community, her grandmother's name, her heritage, her identity. She stepped out, heart pounding. People gathered, taking photos. A violinist played near the entrance. The banners lifted in the wind, and behind them she saw a mural of her grandmother dancing, painted in sweeping strokes of red and black. Elena's breath caught. Miles, she whispered. A voice behind her answered, yes. She turned. Miles stood at the edge of the plaza, hands in his pockets, looking nothing like the shattered man she had last seen. His hair was windswept. His coat unbuttoned, his eyes soft with something she didn't want to call hope, but that was exactly what it looked like. You did this, she said, voice tight. Yes. For me. For your grandmother. For the kids you teach. For the community you came from. And, his voice lowered, yes, for you. She didn't move, couldn't breathe. Miles stepped closer cautiously, like approaching a wounded animal. This isn't a PR stunt. It's not an apology gift. It's something real, something I should have done long ago, creating a space where dance isn't about money or status, but about passion. Her heart thudded painfully. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to think I was trying to buy forgiveness. He swallowed. I wanted you to know I believe in you, even if I don't get another chance. Elena pressed her hand over her chest. You hurt me, she whispered. Miles nodded slowly. I know, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. They stood in silence, the wind tugging at their clothes. Inside the foundation, a pianist began playing a slow tango. The melody weaved through the plaza like an invitation. Elena took a step back. Miles, this changes nothing. We're still good as strangers. His lips curved in a faint, pained smile. Then let me be a stranger who supports you from a distance. As she turned to leave, he called softly, wait. She froze. Miles walked past her to the center of the plaza, where a small temporary stage had been set up for the evening's opening ceremony. The crowd grew hushed. Miles stepped onto the platform and faced her through the glass. Elena, he said, voice carrying across the speakers. I'm not here to win you back. I'm here to ask you something simple. He exhaled shakily. Dance with me. One more time. Not as a performance, not for PR, not for forgiveness, but to show you the truth. The crowd murmured. Phones lifted. Everyone waited. Elena's pulse raced. Miles? I can't. He shook his head. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. She swallowed hard. Why? Because he said, eyes glistening. I need you to see that I can be vulnerable, that I can follow your lead, that I can trust you. Her breath trembled. This time, he whispered, I won't hide behind pride or fear. She took one step forward, then stopped. Inside her pocket, her phone buzzed violently. A message from Silas. If you step on that stage, he loses everything. Walk away, now. Her stomach twisted. Another message buzzed. Mateo, don't trust Silas. Don't let him scare you. He's losing control. Elena lifted her gaze. Miles stood on the stage, waiting for her, not demanding, not begging, just waiting. She walked forward slowly, her pulse echoing with every step. When she stopped at the edge of the stage, Miles breathed out a shaky, hopeful breath. Elena, he whispered, extending his hand. She stared at it. This isn't a reconciliation, she said. This is proof. Miles nodded. Then let me prove myself. She placed her hand in his. The crowd erupted in applause as he pulled her gently onto the stage. She felt the tremble in his fingertips, the tension in his shoulders, the unspoken fear beneath his calm. The music swelled. Miles stepped forward and stumbled. The audience gasped, but Elena caught him, steadied him, led him, and for the first time Miles didn't fight the rhythm. He surrendered to it. Halfway through the dance, he whispered, I'm sorry, Elena, for everything. Tears blurred her vision. He took a shaky breath. And I'm in love with you. Her chest tightened painfully, but she didn't answer. Not yet. Not tonight. When the music faded, the plaza held its breath. Miles sank to one knee. Elena Cruz, he said, voice trembling. I'm not asking you to marry me out of obligation or for a PR stunt. I'm asking because I've never meant anything more in my life. But I'll only accept one answer. He held her gaze. If your heart says it too. Elena felt the crowd closing and phones recording whispers spreading the world waiting for her answer. She inhaled deeply and said the only thing she could. I'll only say yes. She stepped back one pace, eyes steady. If you dare to dance honestly for the rest of your life. No lies, no masks, no walls. Miles stood slowly, hope flickering in his eyes. Then someone in the audience screamed, Elena, look. Her phone buzzed again. A video link, a headline, a threat. Silas wasn't done. Not yet. And Elena realized the war was far from over. Elena stared at the vibrating phone in her hand, the crowd's cheers fading into a muffled hum. On the screen, a video thumbnail showed Miles stepping into a black car earlier that morning, followed by an ominous caption, The Billionaire's Secret Meeting Proof of Bet Scandal. Her stomach twisted. Silas was making his next move. Miles stepped toward her. What's wrong? Before she could answer, another notification appeared. Silas Ward. Walk away now, Elena, or watch him lose everything. Elena turned the screen so Miles could see it. His eyes darkened. He's desperate. He's dangerous, she whispered. That too, he admitted. Security rushed toward the stage as murmurs rippled across the plaza. People were checking their phones, whispers rising like smoke. Is that new footage? Did Miles betray her again? Is this another scandal? Miles clenched his jaw. We're ending this tonight. Elena grabbed his wrist. No, we're ending it together. Miles blinked, startled, but he nodded. Inside the foundation building, away from the noise of the plaza, they huddled in a small backstage lounge. Mateo burst through the door 2 minutes later, slightly out of breath. I came as soon as I saw the video, he said. It's fake, completely fabricated. You're sure? Elena asked. Mateo nodded. They deep-faked his face onto footage from last year's conference. Silas is throwing everything he has now. Miles turned to him. Do you know where he is? Mateo hesitated. I might. Elena stepped closer. Then we go. Miles shook his head. Absolutely not. If he targeted you twice already. You think I'll hide now? Elena snapped. He went after you because of me. I'm not running again. Their eyes locked, the tension sharp and electric. Miles finally relented. Then we do this carefully. Mateo grabbed a jacket and tossed it to Elena. Cover your hair. He'll be watching every exit. They left through the service corridor, slipping down staircases that smelled of paint and new plaster. Elena could hear the muffled applause from above as the opening ceremony continued, unaware of the war unfolding beneath it. Outside, Mateo led them through a narrow alley where a black motorcycle waited. Miles frowned. Seriously, Mateo shrugged. Silas has an army. We need speed. They all climbed on the city lights, blurring as the motorcycle shot down the street. Elena clung tightly to Mateo's waist, the cold wind whipping across her face, fear and adrenaline burning through her chest. "Where are we going?" she shouted. "The river," Mateo shouted back. "Silas owns a warehouse near the docks. That's where he does the dirty work he doesn't want traced." The warehouse loomed ahead, dark isolated windows tinted like dead eyes. Mateo killed the engine. Miles stepped forward. "Stay behind me." Elena grabbed his sleeve. "We face him together." He hesitated, then nodded. They pushed open the rusted door. Inside, dim lights buzzed over the rows of computers, surveillance screens, and crates. At the center stood Silas Ward, impeccably dressed, smirking, waiting. "I wondered when you'd show," Silas said. "The happy couple plus the loyal puppy." Mateo bristled, but Elena held up a hand. Silas stepped closer, clapping slowly. "Elena, you've become quite the celebrity. Viral tango, dramatic escapes, the foundation, and now a billionaire begging for your love. Beautiful storytelling." "This isn't a story," Elena said. "It's destruction." "Destruction," Silas repeated with a cold smile, "is the inevitable cost of power." Miles stepped in front of her. "This ends now. The board knows you're manipulating everything. They've seen enough to pull your influence." Silas chuckled. "The board, Miles, you think they matter? The public thinks you're a liar, a manipulator, a man who dates waitresses for PR." Elena's eyes flashed. "You're wrong." "Am I?" Silas sneered. "Because the world already believes my version." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. One click. A projector hummed to life. New footage appeared, a video supposedly showing Elena stealing confidential files from Miles's office. A total fabrication. "You see," Silas whispered, "with one video, I can destroy her too." Miles lunged forward, rage twisting his face. "You touch her again and I will kill me," Silas taunted. "Please, do try. It'll make you look guiltier." But Mateo was already moving. He dove for the projector, smashing the device against the floor. Sparks flew, lights flickered. Silas stepped back, startled. "Don't be stupid, Mateo." "Oh, I'm counting on stupid," Mateo shouted. "It confuses men like you." Chaos erupted. Miles tackled Silas, slamming him against a metal shelf. Elena grabbed a computer tower and hurled it across the room, knocking over cables and sending screens crashing. Silas reached into his jacket, pulling something metallic. A flash of silver. A gun. "Elena," Miles shouted. Silas pointed the barrel straight at her. Mateo shoved her aside. A shot rang out, shattering a light above them. Miles rushed Silas, grabbing his wrist. The gun clattered across the floor. Sirens wailed outside. Silas froze. Miles grabbed him by the collar. "You lose." Police burst into the warehouse, weapons drawn. Within seconds, Silas Ward was handcuffed and dragged out, screaming threats that echoed down the concrete hall. Elena sank to the floor, shaking. Miles knelt beside her, hands trembling as he cupped her face. "You're safe," he whispered. "You hear me? You're safe." She leaned into him, tears hot against her cheeks. "It's over." He rested his forehead against hers. "Yes, because you didn't run, because you fought." She felt his breath warm and steady. "Miles," she whispered, "that dance. What you said." He pulled back just enough to see her eyes. "I meant every word." The sirens faded, the warehouse lights flickered back to life, and with them the tension inside Elena's chest loosened. She finally smiled, soft, shaking, but real. "Then yes," she whispered. "My heart says yes." Miles exhaled like he'd been drowning. He kissed her, soft at first, then stronger, her hands clutching his jacket, his arms wrapping around her like he'd never let go again. Mateo cleared his throat dramatically. "I love and all that, but can we maybe not kiss in a crime scene?" Elena laughed through her tears. Miles stood, helping her up. "Let's go home." As they walked out of the warehouse, hands intertwined, hearts steady, for the first time, Elena felt something settle inside her. Not fear, not confusion, but certainty. She had survived the fire, and she had chosen love. When they stepped into the cold New York night, cameras already flashing in the distance, Elena squeezed Miles's hand. "Ready for our real tango," she whispered. "Only if you lead," he said. She laughed, and together they disappeared into the lights of the city. If you felt Elena and Miles earned this ending, Tell me in the comments what moment surprised you most. Hit the like button for more billionaire love stories. Và nhớ subscribe để không bỏ lỡ những câu chuyện tiếp theo nha.